Okay, mics are on. I will call this meeting to order. Good evening and welcome to the City of Hollister Thursday, May 28th, 2015 Planning Commission meeting. Do I have verification of agenda posting?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Boy. The agenda for the May 28th Hollister Planning Commission meeting was posted at City Hall on May 22nd at 4:17 p.m.
Thank you, Bill. Commissioner Lenore, will you lead us into the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Carol. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Alvarez? Here. Commissioner Lenore?
Present.
Commissioner Harvey?
Here.
Chairman Boy?
Here.
And I'll note that Gabriel Torres is absent this evening.
Okay. I'm asking for approval of minutes dated April 23rd, 2015. I have a motion for
I
approval.
move that we adopt the minutes of April 23rd, 2015 as presented.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. Are there any speaker cards for communications from the public on items not listed on the agenda?
I have none.
Bill? Okay. Then we move into public hearings number 1. Addendum to mitigated negative declaration for tentative map 2013-5, Cerrado. The applicant is requesting an addendum to the CEQA mitigated negative declaration for previously approved tentative map 2013-5. The addendum is in response to the request by the Department of the Toxic Substances Control to evaluate what effect, if any, the project's removal action work plan would have beyond the impacts previously disclosed in the adopted mitigated negative declaration for the Cerrado Estate subdivision. The addendum to the Cerrado Estate subdivision demonstrates that the analysis contained in the mitigated neg deck adequately addresses the potential physical impacts associated with the removal action work plan related activities, and that none of the conditions described in the CEQA guidelines section 15162 calling for the preparation of a subsequent EIR of negative declaration have occurred. So we have a staff report.
Thank you. On March 27, 2014, the City of Hollister City Planning Commission adopted the Cerrado Estates subdivision mitigated negative declaration and approved the Cerrado Estates subdivision project. The project includes the subdivision of 43.72 acres for 241 single-family lots, a homestead lot, common open space, and private and public streets. The net residential density would be 8.09 dwelling units per acre. The Cerrado Estates subdivision project includes earth moving and ground disturbance over 41 acres of the 43.72 acre site. The MND mitigated negative declaration also assumed demolition and offsite disposal of 2 existing barns. Total daily construction emissions for PM10 were estimated to be 21.34 pounds per day, significantly less than the threshold of 82 pounds per day. Based on the Phase 1 Environmental Site Assessment, ESA, prepared for the Cerrado Estates subdivision project, the MND identified a number of locations on the project site that contain elevated concentrations of contaminants in the soil. The ESA also determined that the existing barn and outbuildings that are to be demolished are likely to have asbestos and lead because of their age. The MND included the following mitigation measures to reduce potential impacts related to hazardous materials in project soils and asbestos and or lead in the outbuildings to be demolished. Mitigation measure 8-1 states prior to issuance of a grading permit, a removal action work plan shall be developed that addresses the areas of environmental concern identified in the Phase 1 ESA and steps required for the remediation of these areas to the satisfaction of the California Department of Toxic Substances Control, DTSC, and or the Monterey Bay Unified Air Pollution Control District as applicable. The work plan and any remediation activities shall occur in the initial phase of the site work. And then also mitigation measure 8-2 Prior to demolition of the on-site buildings, an asbestos survey shall be completed by a certified asbestos abatement contractor to national emission standards for hazardous air pollutants guidelines. All recommendations for the removal of found asbestos contaminant provided by the asbestos abatement contractor shall be completed prior to any further construction or land development in the area following Cal OSHA and Monterey Bay Unified Air Pollution Control District requirements to the satisfaction of the Hollister Planning Department and the Monterey Bay Unified Air Pollution Control District. The MND determined that these mitigation measures would reduce potential hazardous materials impacts to persons to a less than significant level by requiring that remediation of hazardous materials, release sites, and asbestos abatement be concluded prior to occupation of the site. As part of the Department of Toxic Substances Control, DTSC, review of the Removal Action Work Plan, DTSC staff has requested an addendum to the MND, Mitigated Negative Declaration, to document whether implementation of the Removal Action Work Plan, or the RAW, would result in significant impacts that were not disclosed in the MND and whether MND mitigation measures would be implemented as part of RAW activities. The following information is an analysis provided by PMC, who is the CEQA consultants. The analysis is also attached as Exhibit A, addendum with analysis, and it begins on page 4 through page 6. As noted previously, the MND considered the effects of ground disturbance on the entire project site. The RAW does not require soil disturbance outside of the areas assumed for ground disturbance beyond the footprint assumed in the MND, nor does the RAW alter the type of intensity of development on the site. All mitigation measures adopted by the City of Hollister are applicable to the project. Ground disturbance required for the RAW is considered construction, and all measures that are triggered by construction activity or grading permits are applicable and shall be implemented with the RAW. For example, pre-construction biological surveys should take place before ground disturbance, erosion control plans shall be in place, a stormwater pollution prevention program, SWIPI, and stormwater management plan shall be prepared and submitted, and noise mitigation shall be in effect. Therefore, additional analysis of these areas is not required.
Thank you, Joe. Regarding other potential physical environmental effects, basically the concern of the State Department of Toxic Substances Control, the implementation of the RAW, the Removal Action Work Plan, additional sampling and testing would not result in substantial emissions or potential hazards to workers or the public. Contaminated soil excavation and grading activities would be performed, and this is the additional language that's going to be included in the addendum, would be performed by a hazardous materials contractor with a hazardous substance removal and remedial action certificate and personnel with training in hazardous waste operations. Removal activities will be performed by the contractor with observation by a California registered geologist or professional civil engineer. The Removal Action Work Plan, again, this would be specified for the requirements of the Department of Toxic Substances. The Removal Action Work Plan also includes provisions for preparation of a site-specific health and safety plan, which meets federal and California OSHA standards for hazardous waste operations to establish health and safety protocols for personnel working at the site. The Removal Action Work Plan also requires implementation of dust control measures and dust monitoring during remediation activities. These measures would protect workers and the public for potential hazards from the site. And as Joe was mentioning, and mitigation measure 8.1 and 8.2 that was adopted as part of the mitigated negative declaration, this was already within the mitigation measure standards, but this language will be more specific. The Department of Toxic Substance Control just wanted to make sure that we were more specific on what the work plan was gonna have. So this is in this sense the addendum that's included. The City of Hollister, acting as a lead agency, determined that an addendum is the appropriate environmental document under CEQA, because implementation of the Removal Action Work Plan would not result in any new significant impacts or substantially increase the severity of previously identified impacts. Therefore, no additional environmental analysis is required. Of course, the other options, as you know, Commission, would be a supplemental environmental document, which would require, again, this recirculation of the whole document. However, because of this evidence, we felt as a lead agency that this merits an addendum, which was just a public hearing before your commission tonight. Very well. Additional information has been provided. So the additional addendum was that was submitted to you for your review. Now, as of this week, additional information was provided by the CEQA consultant to be included in the addendum as of yesterday, May 27th. The information, we included it in the slide before you, but we will give you a summary. The information refers to the draft removal action work plan. Again, specific language that the state wants to make sure that we have, and was suggested to be included by the Department of Toxic Substance Control, and states as follows. The following is a description based on the March 2015 draft removal action work plan project subject to the Department of Toxic Substance Control. And in essence, it would be a summary of what you have in front of you. It indicates soil with contaminant of concern above cleanup goals will be placed beneath the approximately 9,000 lineal feet of planned private streets. The right-of-way width for the private streets will be approximately 56 feet. And we have a kind of a diagram that shows what the right-of-way would be, as seen on the screen. The contaminant of concern impacted material will be placed beneath approximately 46 feet of right-of-way. So on the 46 feet would be where the contaminant material would be, with an approximate 5-foot buffer at each end of the right-of-way, as shown on the screen. The asphalt is anticipated to be approximately 1 to 1.5 feet thick. Excess impact soil, if any, will be properly disposed at an appropriately permitted off-site landfill. A homeowners association will be established for the development and will be responsible for maintaining the common areas, including the private roads. Institutional controls, including a land use covenant, will be implemented by the homeowners association. The land use covenant will apply to the portion of the site occupied by the private streets and will prohibit sensitive uses such as residences, hospitals, daycares, and schools for students under 18. Essentially, it would be the public right-of-ways only where this contaminant soil would be under. And require a Department of Toxic Substances Control approved soil management plan if soil below the 5-foot buffer is disturbed. The land use covenant will include requirements to perform annual inspections and 5-year reviews as required. With this, staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the applicant's request, receive all written and oral testimony regarding the proposal, and consider approving the attached resolution adopting the addendum to the mitigative negative declaration for tentative map number 2013-5 to include as Exhibit A not only the original analysis, but the environmental analysis prepared by PMC consultants in support of the addendum, not only the original one dated April 7, 2015, but the one also on the screen with the Department of Toxic Substance Control revisions incorporated dated May 22nd, 2015. Are there any questions for staff?
So in summary, the addendum is not addressing any change of scope of the mitigated neg deck, but just adding more clarification to the mitigation 8.1 and 8.2.
That's correct, Chairman Huboy, because the mitigations do indicate that the remedial action work plan will be required, but you're right. They just want to make sure, Departments of Toxic Substance Control wants to make sure that there's language indicating exactly what it is that it's going to occur during the project site for review and approval of the Planning Commission in the public hearing.
Okay. Thank you, Abraham. Any questions for staff?
Yeah. Should we have notified any of those residents around there? Did we?
Yes, it was a part of the a public notice requirement, which basically the notification goes out to, it goes on the paper, it's posted online, and then subject to a 300-foot radius around the project site, Commissioner Alvarez. So yes, absolutely.
I just want to make sure when I hear contaminants and
Yes.
private roads and things like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And they come back to us, not to anybody else, so, okay. thank you.
Absolutely, and just
All
to clarify, as you know, this used to be a walnut orchard,
right.
and
Oh,
so
yeah.
pesticides and all that they use for many years, and so yes.
Okay.
Thank you
Wanna
for
cover it?
that. Thank you for that
Right.
clarification. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Good. Okay. With no further questions, I will open the public hearing on item number 1. Would anyone do we have any speaker cards, Bill?
I have no speaker cards.
Anyone in the audience care to address the commission on item number 1?
The applicant is here, Chairman Huey, but I'm not sure if the applicant would like to come up.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? I will close the public hearing now at 6:18. And we're looking at approving the addendum to the mitigated neg deck for the tentative map number 2013-5.
We entertain a motion?
I entertain a motion.
Resolution number?
2015-15.
I move that the planning commission adopt PC 2015-15, approving the addendum to the adopted mitigated negative declaration for tentative map number 2013-5, Serrato Estates subdivision.
Commissioner Lenore, would you mind including also with the addition of the information provided, suggested by the Department of Toxic Substance Control dated May 22nd?
As stated by planning staff.
Thank you.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item number 1 is approved.
Thank you, Abraham.
Thank you.
Okay, we go on to item number 2. Site and architectural application number 2015-2. Royce Bowles. Bowles, excuse me, thank you. The applicant is requesting approval of a site and architectural application for construction of a 17,500 square foot warehouse building on a .95 acre site. The property is located within the M1 Light Industrial Zoning District. The site is located on Shelton Drive, being more specifically described as San Benito County Assessor's Parcel Number 051-161-011. CEQA is categorically exempt from CEQA pursuant to Section 15332, Infill Development Projects, Class 32.
Thank you, Mr.
You're
Chair.
welcome.
The applicant is requesting, as you mentioned, site and architectural approval for the construction of a 17,500 square foot warehouse building on a 0.95 acre site. The property is located within the M1 Light Industrial Zoning District of the City of Hollister. Site is currently vacant. The applicant is proposing to use the structure for a new warehouse to support the current business just to the south, known as Allright Custom Manufacturing, located directly to the south. The floor plan is proposed to have a completely open storage area. The exterior of the building on all elevation sides would be metal wall butler rib panel painted sky blue. The maximum height of the building would be 29 feet 1 inch. The south elevation will have 1 pedestrian access door and 1 metal roll-up vehicle access door. The east elevation would have 2 vehicle access doors and 2 pedestrian access doors. The site plan shows a possible location for future construction located at the eastern portion of the site along Shelton Drive. The site would include 19 vehicle parking spaces on asphalt surface. The proposed vehicular access driveway would be from Shelton Drive. The proposed parking lot is also going to have on-site vehicle circulation with the existing Allright Custom Manufacturing parking lot located to the south, as just mentioned. Per table 17.18-1, off-street parking and bicycle spaces required by land use type. Warehousing requires 1 space for each 1,000 square feet of gross floor area plus 1 space for each company vehicle. The required parking for the site would be 18 spaces. The project meets parking requirements.
The plan indicates landscaping along Shelton Drive. The landscape includes city-approved street trees and a series of ground covers and perennials. Per Section 1710-030 Industrial Zone General Development Standards, the minimum landscape area required for parcels of 15,000 square feet or more would be 15%. The project meets the required landscaping. Due to its proximity to the airport, The Hollister Municipal Airport Comprehensive Land Use Plan, Figure 6, includes the project site in an Airport Safety Zone 6. The application will be reviewed for land consistency with the Comprehensive Land Use Plan for the Hollister Municipal Airport as required to be satisfied the condition of approval that's included in the draft resolution number 47. Staff would also like to make an addition to a special condition. We want to add number 51 to state as follows, and this is regarding the 100-year floodplain. Prior to issuance of a, I'm going to state the, there we go, state condition, special condition number 51. Prior to issuance of the building permit, the applicant shall provide evidence on the building permit plans and with a flood elevation certificate from a licensed civil engineer registered in the state of California that the base elevation of the building and all mechanical and electrical equipment is 1 foot above the Federal Emergency Management Agency 100-year flood elevation. The applicant shall provide funding for inspection services at the foundation inspection and final occupancy inspection to verify that the base elevation of the building and mechanical and electrical equipment have been constructed to at least 1 foot above Federal Emergency Management Agency base flood elevation, NGVD. A record of the inspection shall be maintained with the building permit. And with this, staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the applicant's request to receive all written and oral testimony regarding the proposal and consider approving Sign Architectural Application 2015-2, subject to the findings and conditions contained in the draft resolution with the addition of condition number 51.
Thank you, Jill. Any questions for Jill?
That's for
Staff
me.
report? Okay, no questions. I'll open up the public hearing now at 6:25. Are there any speaker cards, Bill?
I don't have any, but it looks like Ann's coming to the podium. Well, I hope so.
Good evening, Ann.
Hi, Ann Hall here, San Benito Engineering, 502 Monterey Street, on behalf of the client. I had a question. I know, Jill, when you went through the conditions, the pictures you were showing were the original submittal with the original amount of landscaping. But, okay, if you look at the graphic she has up right now, the kind of L-shaped area of landscaping was our original proposal for the amount of landscaping on the project, which would include a bioswale and accommodate, you know, the LID, BIP, BMP requirements that we are required to do. Where she's pointing the arrow right now, that kind of L-shaped area was our original landscaping proposal, which amounts to about 6% of the property in landscaping. When the zoning ordinance was updated, about, when was that, 10 years ago? I believe that's when the change was made to require 15% landscaping in the industrial park. And I'm not sure why. That seems a rather large amount of landscaping for an industrial park. We did include, so that kind of gray area in the middle of the L shape, that's how much more landscaping we'd have to add to that site to make 15% landscaping on that property, which seems excessive for the use, which is industrial use in an industrial park, and sort of counter to what we're trying to do right now in terms of save water on landscaping and everything else. Jill, could you show the other picture? If you look around the industrial park, this is a Google photo, and the one with the arrow pointing to it is the property that this building would be built on. Most of the properties in the industrial park have about 5% landscaping. And so our original proposal was along those lines, with some along the frontage and then a bioswale next to the building. We would like to request that this be approved with our original amount of landscaping, which was around 6%, rather than the 15% that is required. I don't know if that's something you can do, but that is the applicant's request. The 15 seems excessive for the use and for the area that it's being built in. Do you have any questions on this?
I'm gonna-
Maybe of
I'm gonna-
staff.
I'm going to ask staff that, number one, I'd like to verify in that land use designation, is it 15%? Is that correct? Is that the required landscape requirement?
Yes, that's correct, because it's over, the parcel size is over 15,000 square feet.
Okay.
There are two different types. If the lot is 15,000 square feet or less, then or more,
The building.
then it's 15%. If it's less, then that's where it's like at 5%.
When it's, what is it when it's less?
Or 10%? 10%.
But I would say most of the lots in the industrial park, they're gonna be over 15,000, just by nature, again, of the industrial park.
You're talking about the lot or the building? If the building exceeds 15,000 square feet,
The law, it would be the
It's
law.
the law?
We'll pull it up right now. It's on our M1 standards.
well, you have a good question. I don't know if we're discussing
You make some
it
good
now.
points.
I mean, but I don't know how the planning commission sidesteps the zoning ordinance. I don't believe we can do that. If they could go and have the council change the zoning ordinance, but we can't just do that.
I think we
Although
need to
I agree it's excessive,
Yeah,
but we don't have the authority, I don't think, to do that.
I think we need to pursue it, though. I mean, I don't, based on what Ann shared,
And the watering.
I don't see-
you got a good point.
why they should be required to have the 15%. So I don't know what
Do we know
the
why?
process is,
What
but
was our thought when
Do
we
they have
did
an
that?
option?
More than likely, it was done back in
They direct.
2009 when we did the update of the zoning ordinance
Right.
to meet the general plan requirements. And one of the things that I could think of was to meet stormwater requirements as well, because of bio retention and so forth. And also because of to have the light industrial zoning district to also have frontage improvements that require landscape
Just
areas.
aesthetics, overall
Aesthetics,
aesthetics.
yes.
But now we're in a severe drought.
Yeah, the applicant, Ann Hall, makes good points, but I don't think we
Yeah.
can approve tonight a variance of the development requirement unless it was part of the original proposal, I believe.
But we couldn't
Can-
even do that.
Can you approve potentially, say, a delay? Can we delay installing the additional 9% landscaping until such time as we're either not in a drought or the ordinance can be changed? I mean, is that,
I mean, to phase the landscaping?
phase the landscaping, would that be approved? Maybe do 6% now and obligate them to do the remainder at some future date?
Everybody's gonna wanna do that. It has to be changed right, so everybody's on the level playing field.
And I would prefer to see a change. I mean, frankly, I think I question that much landscaping in the industrial
Still,
park
I
at
like
all.
landscaping though.
But
none of it, I don't think it's fair to request the applicant to do, when none of the other properties around there have the.
But when you change the zoning ordinance, that means you've decided that this is the direction you're gonna go. So you can't just not do that. You're gonna be not compliant. You understand?
Yeah.
Then it has to go back and amend the zoning ordinance.
Yeah,
It could be done, but not by us.
So if we could at least do that, then if we let them phase it in until, and then, if we decide to change it or whatever, so be it.
I think I'd like an
If-
interpretation.
I need an interpretation
Yeah.
on whether or not,
You guys.
if we phase the landscaping.
Actually, you don't need an interpretation because you're actually absolutely correct.
Yeah.
The planning commission is the one that established the 15% landscape requirement in the zone, which then obviously got adopted by the city council. So it started with you folks, maybe
Right.
not you folks specifically,
Right.
but with
Yeah.
you folks.
The process.
So if you want it changed, it can start with you folks too. But you do not have the authority tonight to do something different.
Yeah,
You can ask and to set this area aside for landscaping. There are plant and materials that we have to abide by through the Water
right.
Resource Association that are drought-tolerant plants. We're not telling them to turf it, we're telling them to have a landscaped area.
Okay.
And that's exactly the point, is that it was for aesthetics in the
Yeah.
industrial park. We don't have a landscape plan, I don't believe that you guys are actually looking at to be adopted tonight. But when they do submit their plans, the landscaping goes to the Water Resource Agency. They do their calculations to make sure that it meets the current requirements, and we'll go from there. And yes, I completely understand that. Right now, it just seems counterproductive, but
Not with drought tolerant plants though.
the drought will end. I
Yes,
mean,
right.
I gotta tell you, we can't be knee-jerking every decision that we make from now into the future because we happen to be in a drought.
I would agree with that statement that Billy just made. I just have an issue with 15% landscaping in the industrial park altogether, whether it's a drought or not. That's a lot of property in an area that's essentially not your commercial district, not your public space. It's an industrial area that has a bunch of warehouses in it.
I understand that, but again, we can't change.
I know you can't change it, but
Can we phase it?
I can't change
No,
it.
No,
whether
I
or not
think,
we
what-
can
I think
phase
that,
it.
I think what Ann is probably asking you is this, is that you can direct staff to go back and revisit the percentage of landscaping in
Right.
the industrial area if you believe in concept that 15% is too much regardless of parcel size. That's what I think she's asking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's what I think, that's what I'd like to see staff do.
I mean, again, it
I
started,
can
it's,
agree with that.
for somehow, the planning commission wanted a certain amount of
know.
landscaping in the industrial area. If you believe now that that 15% is too high, then you can direct us to come back and do some revisions to that.
What do you think about that?
I already told you what I think about it.
Bill?
Oh, me? Oh, I don't want to.
You were the.
I have no
planning
opinions
director when we
whatsoever when I'm
passed it.
sitting in this chair.
Okay.
Commissioner Lenore?
Let me just, for clarification here, the industrial zone, which you have a lot of metal buildings out there, and they're not the most articulated structures in the world, but I think that's one of the reasons the landscaping mitigates, that utilitarian look out there, if you will. But 15%, that's pretty high. In our other areas, we're not that high. Am I
Sec-
correct?
That section 1710 of the industrial zoning district does indicate that the parcels less than 15 square feet. So it would be the parcels that would require 10%, either in the industrial or in the industrial business
For
park.
example, if the North Gateway, we're not at 15% there, regardless of the.
And that's where it should be.
And the North Gateway, that North Gateway actually does, we do have a beautification requirement for the North Gateway that requires that the frontage of the North Gateway is beautified with landscaping aesthetically, so forth. We can try to find out.
Do you know offhand what the required percentage is in the North Gateway?
I can find out right now, Commissioner Huboy. Let me just go into the commercial zoning district section for the North Gateway. It says a 20-foot wide landscape corridor with a double row of trees on the Highway 25 gateway entry to Hollister. A 10-foot wide landscape strip along San Felipe Road on the North Gateway Street corridors. Let me see if it says percentage, but it does emphasize the requirement of landscaping on North Gateway as well. But let me see if I can just indicate specifically the percentage.
I think the 10 and 20-foot requirements that Abraham is referencing, he's talking about frontage, which I would agree, that's typically where you want to have your landscaping. And we do have 20 feet of frontage landscaping shown even in our original plan.
10%, Chairman Huboy, for the North Gateway. For parcels less than 15,000 square feet would be 10%. Parcels 15 square feet or more in the North Gateway would require 5%. So it is a little lesser
It's lower.
for parcels that are 15,000 square feet or more.
I think would I say it's the consensus of the commission for the staff to review that 15% landscape requirement in the industrial zone?
Yes.
I agree with that. I don't know how it helps this project if it's can be because it's a whole process to amend the zoning ordinance.
I understand,
Might take
and I
2 or 3
understand that
months.
that's not, I understand that change
Yeah.
can't happen tonight. I have had another project that came up against this same issue, and for other reasons it didn't go forward, but the questions I had from the applicant were my client were the same. Why so much landscaping in the industrial zone? So to me, I'm interested in having the question answered, even though I know that is a process. As far as this project, I think the applicant would like to go ahead and get it approved, and then maybe he can, if it does get changed, maybe we can come back for a variance or a change later, because that landscape area.
Well,
I
if they
think we-
change it, you can make an amendment to your.
Right, we can come back and try
Side
and
architectural.
amend it later. I think they'd like to go forward with the building itself
It
now.
really doesn't serve a good purpose to just add that landscaping in that location that I'm looking at here. I can see why, you describe where like, for example, the North Gateway, where you have that frontage. Because you want to have that mitigation from the street. But just to put it there because you're trying to meet 15% it just doesn't seem that that's a good way to go, in my opinion. So, but we'll have to stay with that, and tell staff, I'd like you to look into that and review it and get back to us on that.
What, Billy?
No, I think that staff can go back and do that, and like you said, I don't, it looks a little bit like the area that we were looking for additional landscaping is in a future phase or a future construction or a future pad. So that, if, assuming that the landscape area gets changed or modified at some point, you know, then it can be reduced as they go through the process of doing a site and architectural for that future building. The other thing I think that we should keep in mind is that Carol probably remembers better than anybody, Ozeki Saki, when they did a building addition several years ago, they fought really, really hard on the landscaping in front of their property because it's sort of the same sort of tenor that we got here. And I would encourage everybody to drive by Ozeki and see what it looks like, because it doesn't look bad.
No, it looks good, but it's so visual right there. That was the right call for there.
Yeah, but it's also describing where the landscaping should be appropriately placed. So I think it needs to, if we're gonna, and I'm
If we're
not,
gonna lessen it, maybe you wanna see it
you know,
different? Or is that what you're saying?
you know, if I'm not going to, I don't have the ordinance on the industrial zone, specifically what the lands, I know we were talking about 15%, but there may be some other verbiage in there, but let's review that, put it on the agenda, and we'll discuss it at a future time. Okay, any other, okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Ann.
Ann.
Any other people in the audience care to address the commission on item number 2? With no further speakers, I will close the public hearing now at 6:40. Bring it back to the commission. Okay, so we're looking at site and architectural application. Any further discussion on that?
Not for me.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve site architectural application 2015-2, PC resolution 2015.
16.
16.
16.
As presented.
With the added condition?
The added condition, number 51.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes, addition.
Okay.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Item number 2 has been approved. Okay, we go on to item number 3. Site and architectural application number 2015-3. Del Curto, the applicant, is requesting approval of a site and architectural application for 2 multifamily units in the downtown mixed-use zoning district. The site is located at 653 East Street, being more specifically described as San Benito County Assessor's Parcel Number 054-031-004. CEQA is categorically exempt from CEQA pursuant to Section 15332 Infill Development Projects, Class 32. Staff report, please.
Thank you. The applicant is requesting approval of a site and architectural application for the construction of a 2-unit multifamily development on a .09 acre site in the downtown mixed-use zoning district. The site plan illustrates that the project will include private open space, new walkways, parking, and two vehicular access points from East Street to 7th Street. And just to kind of clarify the slide before you, if you're from the audience facing the screen, there's a center line that kind of divides. There's 2 different parcels there. The 2 units on the left were a previous approval for site architectural. So the applicant also owns the other parcel to the right side, if you're in the audience. And this is the approval for tonight for another 2 units that are next to the other 2. The residential building will consist of 2 3-bedroom, 2-bath units. The building would be 2 stories tall at 24 feet 5 inches. The proposed elevations would have a stucco finish. The plans illustrate that each unit would have its own laundry facilities. Unit A would have approximately 281 square feet of private open space in the form of a courtyard. Unit B would have approximately 113 square feet as a second-story balcony. The project meets private open space requirements per Section 1708-050 Mixed-Use Zoning District Supplemental Standards.
Thank you, Jill. The project site is within the downtown mixed-use zoning district. This district allows for the project sites to have 25 to 40 dwelling units per net acre. This would allow the project to have from approximately 2 to 3 residential units. The project is proposed with 2 units and meets the minimum density required for the downtown mixed-use zoning district. The property is located within the Alquist-Priolo Special Studies Seismic Zone. Per the Alquist-Priolo Earthquake Fault Zoning Act, a project can mean either a subdivision of land which is subject to the Subdivision Map Act and which contemplates the eventual construction of structures for human occupancy. These are structures for human occupancy with the exception of a single-family wood frame or steel frame dwelling not exceeding 2 stories when that dwelling is not part of a development of 4 or more dwellings. That's the definition that we have and that you have in your staff report, Commission. And the proposed project is a 2-unit multifamily development on a 0.09 acre parcel. The development is not part of a development of 4 or more dwellings on the lot and is therefore exempt from the Alquist Priolo Earthquake Fault Zoning Act per Chapter 7.5, and it's also 2 stories and no bigger than 2 stories as well. With this, staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the applicant's request, receive all written oral testimony regarding the proposal, and consider approving Saturn Architectural Application Number 2015-3, subject to the findings and conditions contained in the draft resolution. Are there any questions for staff?
Any questions?
None for me.
I don't have any questions. Okay. Thank you, Abraham. I'll open the public hearing now at 6:44. Speaker cards?
I have no speaker cards. Oops, sorry. I have no speaker cards.
Okay. Anyone in the audience care to address the commission on item number 3? No
The
speaker?
The applicant is here, Chairman Huber, but doesn't look like has any questions.
Any questions for the applicant? No questions. I'll close the public hearing now at 6:45. Pretty straightforward, I would think.
I like it.
Yeah, I do too.
I like it.
I
Looks
like
good.
the
He
those
didn't-
little corbel
Yeah,
braces.
he put some architecture on there. That's, looks
Yeah.
nice, I think.
Good shadow lines.
I always like shutters. I think it looks good.
Well, the first half is already being built.
Yeah.
On the site.
Right.
Right.
That's correct, yeah.
Big improvement.
Okay. Yeah. So Tammy Jackson did a good job.
Yes, she did.
Yeah. She does a good job with the farmer's market too, by the way. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead and provide that motion for site and architectural application number 2015-3, PC resolution 2015-17, the Curto property. As presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item number 3 has been approved. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for improving that corner. It's gonna look really good.
Yeah.
No, I know.
All right.
They
Thank
always
you.
do good work.
All right, great.
What's that?
No, nothing.
What was that?
I said now he
William?
speaks.
Oh, okay. That was good. Okay, we go on to item number 4. It's a growth management allocation number 2015-2, filed by Highland Partners Group Incorporated, requesting 53 residential allocations on a property consisting of 11.4 acres in the R1 LPZ, Low-Density Residential Performance Overlay Zoning District, located south of Buena Vista Road, east of Carnoble Drive.
Noble.
Thank you, Commissioner Lenore. Carnoble Drive, west of Ventura Court and north of Central Avenue, being more specifically described as APN 019-250-001. Jill?
Thank you. The applicant is requesting 53 residential allocations on approximately 11.48 acres of land designated low-density residential, as previously stated, located south of Buena Vista Road, east of Carnoble Drive, west of Ventura Court, and north of Central Avenue. There's also, the applicants provided some boards, some foam core boards rendered, also towards the dry erase board, if anyone else is interested. We've also included slides here. At the February 26, 2015 Planning Commission meeting, the Commission approved Resolution 2015-6 and PC Resolution 2015-7, recommending to the City Council the approval of the mitigated negative declaration, along with the mitigation and monitoring program, and the approval of pre-zone number 2013-2. At the March 16, 2015 City Council meeting, the Council approved Resolution 2015-45, adopting a mitigated negative declaration. And April 6, 2015, the City Council approved Ordinance 1113, approving the pre-zone 2013-2. Pre-zone 2013-2 has been formally submitted to LAFCO, and it is formally scheduled for the July 23rd, 2015 meeting. So currently, this project is within the limits of the County of San Benito, but they are scheduled for LAFCO coming up here in July. The City of Hollister has awarded a total of 134 residential allocations this year so far, out of a total of 270 that were available. There was 26 that were carried over from 2014, so there was a little bit more than the 244 that we usually have. As of today, there are 136 allocations that can still be awarded until December 31st, 2015. Staff at this point is recommending that 25 allocations get awarded to this project until the property is officially annexed into the city limits, at which the applicant will come back and request the remaining allocations from the Planning Commission. And with this, staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt a resolution awarding 25 residential allocations to Highland Partners Group Incorporated for a low-density residential development.
Okay, so
Any questions for
staff
staff?
is recommending 25, and the applicant's requesting 53.
Yes.
Any questions?
Is that a little park? What was that little?
Oh, yes, we'll address that in the next
It's a
agenda
performance
item.
overlay zone, so I know Commissioner,
Sure. Oh, it's on the map, yeah. That's,
it's, Chris Alvarez
There.
is gonna be looking for that park. Right?
That's on the next item.
Okay.
Is that the next item?
This
Yes.
is just the growth
Okay,
map.
Correct.
this
This
is,
is
but
for
this
the-
is just the allocations,
Right.
okay.
I got excited,
Yeah.
sorry.
You got
okay.
excited?
It's okay.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, no questions. Okay, thank you, Jill. I will open up the public hearing now.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
No problem. And we're at 10 minutes to 7. Yes, would you like to speak, sir?
Yes.
Yes, come on to the podium and,
Thank you very much.
Okay, my name is Mario Marquez. I'm a homeowner. I actually live, the project, the 11 acres, is out my bedroom window. I could actually see it from my bedroom window. I moved here to Hollister about 4 years ago. I decided to retire here. I love Hollister. I love everything about it. I didn't realize that neighborhood. My real estate agent told me about the neighborhood, and I still chose to move to that neighborhood. I know Mr. Bill over here says that we're going to be out of a drought here soon, but until that drought, we're putting a lot of homes in a small area. 53 homes, that's a lot of homes for 11 acres. And it looks, pretty on the map, but once you scope out and you actually see how tight they're together, and my main concern is, the sewage and garbage. And then with the little park there, we have a big homeless problem here in the area, especially in that area, and they're always looking for places to like hide and go and do these little parks like this and basically destroy them, And the project looks really nice, but I'm concerned with, the water, the sewage, the street access. The Buena Vista is a really bad road. And Central is like a racetrack. It's like a quarter-mile racetrack for most of the people in the area that use it as a shortcut to get in and out of town. We've had a lot of high-speed chases in that area here with the Hollister PD, and a lot of the perpetrators. And it shows on the record there, most of them come from Watsonville, and they use that back road as a getaway to go to 129 and head on back home to Watsonville. Just in the last 6 months, there's been over 4 very heavy-duty high-speed chases. And I'm concerned with the little parks that we have in the area and the kids around in the area. I mean, my whole main concern, the whole reason why I'm up here is because I think that 53 houses is way too many houses. I don't know how the city is allowing, you know, that many homes in one small area. And the only question I have is that solid? Is that something that's going to go ahead and go through, or do we need to talk to more of the homeowners in the area, because we don't know how it's going to impact the whole neighborhood around there? So I'm just asking if there's any way that if there's any way they can change the amount of homes there, or if that is something that's already set in stone that's going to go through. That's the only thing that main thing I'm asking. I mean, I know a lot of the Spanish-speaking neighbors really don't understand the, you know, most of the people are high school education and they're hard workers, but they don't understand the impact of the 53 homes in a small area, especially in that neighborhood. And I'm wondering, is the city okay with 53 houses? And that's basically my question. I mean, is everybody here comfortable with having that many homes in one small area?
Carol, did you want
I think if you'll notice that most of the lots in that whole west side of town is 6,000 square feet.
Yeah, 6,000.
These lots are a little bit bigger than that.
Bigger.
So that there's a lot of homes down there, you're
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
but
there is.
they're on lots that are of the same average size. It used to be a 6,000 square foot minimum, but with the performance overlay zone, you have some flexibility.
Okay.
But
The only,
except that you need to tell him it's the growth management. I don't know if he's commenting on the growth management or really the tentative map that's next.
well, my main thing is, well, this is the first time that I actually seen that one. I seen the proposal in the newspaper, so there I could just go, I was imagining where the streets are gonna go, and now that I see the way that the street is laid out, it almost seems like it's a doable thing. But my question is just, like I said, you know, with the, I know that most lands are 6,000 square feet. And so my question still the same. I mean, is it
I
a good
understand your
idea?
concerns. It's a natural concern that people would have when somebody's gonna fill up an empty lot that's
Yeah.
by you, but
I mean, I know that
honestly,
lot's
it's
ugly.
really what the whole area has
Okay.
done, so.
And
And I appreciate your concerns,
Yeah.
but we're also looking at, you know, a lot of average lot sizes are like 5,000 square feet, and we're looking at even smaller little garden homes to provide affordable housing for, or,
And-
I don't even know they're not
so,
quote-unquote affordable housing, but we are, you know, looking at garden homes, smaller homes is the trend for today. So just for your edification, these lot sizes are not unusual, or this density in that
Okay.
area is not, in my view, out of place. But I do appreciate your comments.
with 53 homes, how many homes would be for like affordable housing? I mean, I don't know I didn't do my research on that. So with a project like this, is there usually affordable housing for certain neighborhoods or?
This is just straight.
No, this, what we're looking at here is just for the allocations. It doesn't really get into if they're affordable or not.
This is a market rate subdivision.
Okay,
It's
market
not
rate.
affordable.
Okay, well, that's all I had on that. I'm just wanted to bring that up about the water and sewage and then the traffic.
You're not the
And,
only one concerned with that.
And so that was just my main concern right there, and I mean, I guess it will make our property value go up, so that's the only
probably
thing it
will.
can do, you know? And what kind of time frame are they thinking about this? Does anybody here know the time frame when did they do start? I mean, is it gonna, I don't know how
Maybe
the,
the applicant
Is the
will answer
applicant,
that
is the
for
applicant
you.
in the audience?
Yes, the applicant's here.
I think they can answer that better than us.
Okay, we'll
All right, thank you.
talk to the applicant.
thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mario.
Thank you for your comments.
The applicant, please come to the podium and have some questions.
What
Because
really
this
might,
is the growth
yeah,
management.
what might really be more appropriate is And I know that Brad and I have been talking about suspending the growth management process just so that we don't have to go through an allocation process anymore. But this is really about whether or not you think the property should have 53 allocations. I think the discussion about design, true numbers, all the other components of the project probably should be under the tentative map.
Right.
Right.
That would be my suggestion.
Yeah,
I think that's
which
when
is
you're
the
allowed
next-
to get more into the nitty-gritty of
Next item.
the
Right.
design and the numbers.
Okay, well, we'll suspend them, unless there are any questions regarding.
I don't want the
allocations.
applicant not to be able to speak, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Would you care to?
He's gonna end up saying the same thing twice.
Regarding the allocations, I know the tentative map is the next item. Would you,
Why don't I just?
you want to wait
Just
till
wait, just
the next
wait.
item? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, any other speakers? No further speakers. I will close the public hearing now at 3 minutes to 7. Okay, so we're looking with staff recommendation of 25 allocations.
I move that the planning commission adopt PC resolution 2015-18, awarding 25 residential allocations for Highland Partners.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item number 4 has been approved. Now we go into item number 5, tentative map 2015-2 Highland Partners Group Incorporated. The applicant is requesting approval of the subdivision of 53 single-family lots for tentative map 2015-2 encompassing 11.48 acres in the R1 LPZ, Low-Density Residential Performance Overlay Zoning District, located south of Buena Vista Road, east of Carnival Drive. Did I pronounce that right?
Carnival.
Carnival.
It's Cardinelli and Noble way back in the day.
West of Ventura Court
I've been around
and
all
north
the
of
time.
Central Avenue. CEQA's mitigated negative declaration. Can I have a staff report, please?
Yes. The applicant is requesting approval of a tentative map to subdivide one parcel of approximately 11.48 acres into 53 lots for single-family homes in the R1 LPZ, Low-Density Residential Performance Overlay Zoning District. The minimum lot size would be 5,700 square feet, and the average lot size would be 6,330 square feet. The gross density proposed is 4.7 dwelling units per acre, which is the 53 units on the 11.4 acres, and the net density is proposed at 6.3 dwelling units. Access to the site will be provided by way of the new roadway connection to Buena Vista Road and Central Avenue. The site layout allows for contiguous traffic circulation. Buena Vista Road extends an east and west direction towards the north end of the project site. Buena Vista Road would be improved with curb, gutters, and sidewalk along the north side of the project site. Central Avenue is a 2-lane local street extending in an east-west direction towards the south end of the project site. Central Avenue will be improved with curb, gutter, and sidewalk along the north side of Central, so it's the south property line. The current park facility master plan recommends the development of 5-acre neighborhood parks within walking distance of a half mile. There are 2 existing neighborhood parks within the project vicinity. Tony Aguirre Memorial Park, which is approximately 1 acre in size, is located approximately 0.19 mile to the west of the project site along Central Avenue. John C. Hernandez Memorial Park is approximately a 1/4 acre in size, is located just about 400 feet to the west of the project site along Central Avenue. The City Council and Planning Commission have expressed the need for updating the park facility master plan to further identify new park sites, and city staff would be commencing the update shortly. The applicant, as you can kind of see in the screen before you, has submitted a park design and dual-use stormwater basin to include a tot lot and picnic barbecue area with open space. The police department has recommended gating the south side along Central Avenue near the existing bus stop, which is this portion Abraham's kind of highlighting here with the arrow. There's a little kind of voided area that's existing bus stop location. That's for public safety reasons that they would be proposing the gate along that south side. This park proposal from the applicant, it's not identified in the existing parks master plan due to its proximity to existing parks. But if it's the direction of the commission to support the applicant's proposal of a park at this location, staff can work with the applicant in refining the design specifics. So, but whether a park use is determined for the site tonight, staff will recommend to the planning commission that a condition be included that will require the site to be properly fenced to ensure public safety. Let's see.
Thank you, Joe. Just a little bit of a background on history. On September 21st, 2009, the City Council approved the initiation of pre-zone for this 11 plus acre site for the beginning of the pre-zoning process for R1 single-family residential. And then on February 26, 2015, the Planning Commission approved a resolution recommending approval of the pre-zone to the City Council. On March 16, 2015, the City Council adopted a CEQA mitigated negative declaration for the project. And on April 6, 2015, City Council adopted resolution number 2015-60, approving an annexation agreement, and approved resolution 2015-61, requesting LAFCO to initiate proceedings for annexation. And as Joe mentioned a little while ago, the site is scheduled for the July LAFCO meeting for annexation. The project site is consistent with Land Use Policy 8.4 of the City of Hollister General Plan, which is titled Neighborhood Scale, because the project site will preserve and enhance the character of the existing residential neighborhood. As mentioned, the City of Hollister circulated a mitigated negative declaration for the proposed tentative map 2015-2, indicating all of the environmental review that was prepared for the project site from January 23rd, 2015 to February 23rd, 2015, which is attached to your project staff report. And as mentioned, on March 16, 2015, the City Council of the City of Hollister adopted resolution number 2015-45, adopting the mitigated negative declaration for the project site. Staff is also aware of the neighborhood, and also that there is a strong presence of a Spanish-speaking population. As mentioned by Mr. Marquez, we really appreciate when the audience, when they come and express their comments. And we did send a notification to the public, both in English and in Spanish as well. And we're happy to see people come into the audience, because from previous projects, as you know, we've had this whole room crowded, packed in the west side of town, projects being proposed. So it's really good to see. It's really good to see people coming in and voice their opinion. And with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the request, receive all written and oral testimony regarding the proposal, and approve tentative map 2015-2, subject to the findings and conditions contained in the draft resolution, with the addition of a specific condition requiring, if it is the determination of the Planning Commission, that the applicant install a fence for the public safety at the dual-use basin/park, if it's a determination and direction of the commission to have that as a dual-use park on that location. Does the commission have any questions for staff?
Any questions for staff? Thank you, Abraham. Open up the public hearing now at 5 minutes after 7. The applicant, Mario.
Thank you for listening. Okay. It's a well-known fact in the city of Hollister, especially in I guess they call the area the Villa Hermosa. That's what I was told. A lot of the homes in that area are supposed to be single-family homes, but there's, multi-families living in the homes, and we understand that, times are hard and people need to bring in their families. My question is, after these homes are built, I don't know if this is a city thing, but how will we be able to regulate that people aren't going to start building little apartments in the back of their backyard? I mean, I don't know. That's a lot of that happening in the neighborhood. And so my main concern is if these are single-family homes, how are we going to be able to regulate that they stay single-family homes so that we don't have like 20 cars at one house? And if you drive through there, I don't know how many of the people drive through the neighborhood, And like I said, I love that neighborhood. The people are great, and I chose to retire here. I'm a retired iron worker. I'm a seismic retrofitter, and I'm retired. And I chose Hollister because of the seismic activity, and I love the San Andreas Fault. And I did a lot of work here my whole life. And when I first moved to the area, I purchased my home, and the real estate agent had a couple disclosures, and I told him, well, I don't care about that. I'll adjust, and I did. And so like I said, at the beginning, my main concern is will the city back the code enforcement up to make sure that we don't have these problems? Because I know it's hard to buy a house. I bought mine, and it was really difficult, and I did it, and I'm proud of myself for it. But I love my privacy, and I love to have my own family there, and I'm not about to bring any of my friends or family to live at my home. But I know other people, they have to do that. So I'm just hoping that my question is that will the city take responsibility and go ahead and make sure that they back up the code enforcement to make sure that none of that happens, and because we don't need that many cars, that many people in certain areas. And that's the only thing I really have. I don't even know if that's even a question or if that's something that has anything to do with city council. But as the proposal goes, it looks like a great idea. It looks great. It's going to bring my home way up in value, and I could either sell or move, or I'd like to stay. But it's one of those things where I retired, I could do whatever I want. So I'm just hoping that with this new housing, that it's not going to be like everywhere else where little apartments in the back and there's going to be like 4 or 5 families out there. So that's the only thing that I have. So I don't know how I put that into a question, or how you're understanding me right now. In my mind, I could know exactly what I'm trying to say, but when it comes to letting you guys know, it's just that I'm hoping that you guys are going to back code enforcement up. So that's the only thing that I have on that.
Well, code enforcement is kind of a separate issue, but
yes,
if that activity does happen, if there's, for example, if they're and I've seen it happen. I've had to report it myself when I first moved to Hollister, where they've constructed bedrooms in a garage, and I knew that was a health and safety issue, other than some other issues that was disturbing. But it's a reporting issue to the code compliance. So if it's up to the neighborhood and being vigilant on that.
I believe the lot sides are not conducive to a second unit, correct?
That's correct, Commissioner Lenore. Our zoning ordinance does require that the lot size be at least 7,000 square feet in order to allow for the construction of a secondary unit. The accessory second unit, if the lots were 7,000 square feet, the accessory second unit can be no smaller than 150 square feet and no larger than 850 square feet. But they would require a building permit for that. My understanding is that these lots, most of them, are not going to be over 7,000. But if they are, then they would have that requirement. There is the ability to have a garage conversion or an addition to the property, but that is also required a requirement of a building permit as well. But for accessory second units, they have to meet the minimum requirements. And also, the applicant will have to pay the proper impact fees and so forth.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So what you don't want to see is people living in accessory structures.
Yes.
And I am very big on code enforcement.
So,
And the city's got a really good handle on that, much better than they used to.
so the best thing to do is just let the neighbors know that if you see any kind of activity,
Always.
make sure they report it. Thank you. That's
That's
all
why
I
we have
have.
code enforcement.
Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank
Mario.
you for coming.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Doug Ledebor. I'm with Highland Partners Group. Joining me tonight is Aaron Roden with Ryder Homes, as well as Tony DeMello with North Star Engineering, our civil engineer. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Wanted to thank you for the allocations. Also, thank you for your consideration on the map this evening. We've worked with staff for about 18 months now, primarily Jill and Abraham. And I think with their input and direction, what we've attempted to do is put together a proposal that provides for a nice variety of plan types, provides a critical pedestrian connection along Buena Vista Road as well as Central. offers open space community amenities, and we think is pretty compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. We held a neighborhood meeting last week. We noticed everybody within 300-foot radius. We had pretty good attendance. There were a couple of comments and concerns, but for the most part, the neighborhood was very supportive of the proposal and thought it would be an enhancement to the neighborhood. As far as Mr. Marquez's comments, I appreciate you showing up tonight. Thank you. When we looked at this initially, the general plan designation allows up to, I believe, 90 some odd units on the property. Our initial study, which took in consideration water, sewer, all of the various impacts, was all done on the higher density. I think 91 units, if I'm not mistaken, 91 or 92. We looked at the neighborhood, and we just thought it was much more compatible to do larger lots. If you notice along that west boundary, our lot sizes pretty much mirror the sizes around us, and we just thought that would be much more acceptable to the neighborhood there. I think we are at a density of like 4.6 or 4.7. Your general plan strongly encourages north of 4 to the acre. So that's what we tried to do here. Anyway, appreciate your consideration tonight, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
It was just one of the first things I look at on these tentative maps, subdivisions. You got a good solar access there. You have good solar sites. I commend you for that. So, and I think, yeah. So that was just my first comment. Usually, is to look for solar access, which is good. Any comments?
Just to clarify for Mr. Marcus as well, is it could have been worse. It could have been more. This was a nice happy medium for you guys. It's going to be good.
What's the low density, what's the, is it can go up to 35 units per acre.
Well,
Up
it could have
to
had
8
91.
units, 8 units per acre,
With
and
the
at 11
performance
acres,
overlay, it's- yeah.
11 point
I
plus.
like the way you made the lots even with the other lots right there.
Yeah, they matched up real well.
It makes for nicer.
Thank you.
Conformity, uniformity. Can we see the park basin one more time? So you have a little
What we
top
tried to
box
do,
again?
initially it was kind of designed as a basin, and this was a little bit in response to the chairman's comment, I believe, at the pre-zoning hearing, that we should offer some form of an amenity there. So we have a flat area up top of about 10,000 square feet planned for barbecues, picnic tables, and a play structure.
You know, people say, well, we shouldn't do these little ones, but until I see a big one going on, I'm going to want the little ones. And you know what I like is walkability. We're all about designing the neighborhoods to be walkability. Well, they walk to their park instead of driving to another big park. So it has its pluses. Yeah, I would like a big park too, but I'll take the little ones when we can get it. So thank you for
We're doing what we
considering
can.
that little area for the kids. Because you've got a basin there, it's not really a park. So I appreciate you doing that area there for people to utilize.
Sure. Thank you.
Chris, did you want to chime in on that?
Oh, no, I'm happy as heck. That's a great addition.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Thank you
Thank you.
very
Done.
much.
Thank you.
The kids will thank you.
They will,
Apparently
they'll use
will.
it.
And just to respond to Mr. Marquez's comment regarding safety, the police department did take a look at it as well, and they are aware of the issues that are going on speed and on Central. One of their requirements was that, or suggestions, was that the south side of the project along the dual use park be fenced off. That was their recommendation for safety reasons. They right away cited that they wanted to avoid any of the kids running across or anything like that. So that's a really good point that you brought up there, Mr. Marquez.
And as far as speeding, call the police. Call them, that's what they're there for. I got a speeding problem on San Benito Street. They get calls from me about we need to slow it down. For 20 years now I've been telling them that, but keep telling them because they do want to hear about it. And I'm sure their neighbors, I don't like the speeding either. It's so straight, which is the other good reason about making the streets like this. They don't have a thoroughfare to go fast. Central is a raceway, you're right. Yeah. But utilize that police department when you have something like that that's not right.
Anyone from the audience care to address the commission on item number 5?
How are you? I'm Danielle Marquez. I'm Mario Marquez's daughter. I live at the same area as well. Something is kind of a health and safety thing for me. I'm sure a lot of people don't really like to talk about because nobody really likes to talk about it that much, but you are aware that San Benito County has a lot of rape and sexual assaults happening here. There's last statistic I heard was 366, which is more than 365 of the days of the year. That means we have one every day plus another one. And I've witnessed people on Central and Graph, because that's where I live, trying to get kids into their cars and shit on their way home from school. Excuse my language. But it's really concerning, and it's really angers the people in the area that kids are being followed from the school right down the street, to their homes, or being followed by car. And is there going to be any, again, like he said, is there going to be any extra, eyes watching them? Should keep extra cameras out there? Just, there's going to be an additional park right there where I've cleaned up a lot of drug paraphernalia and things there, which is also another health and safety concern. So I guess, to put that into question is how are you, is the police department and the neighborhood, is it the neighborhood's responsibility to report? Obviously, yes, but a lot of people don't, because that's just the nature of the Hispanic community, not to really put it on a particular culture, but I'm of Hispanic descent, and I know how it is with certain families.
It could be intimidating.
You could be an advocate for a neighborhood watch organization once these homes get built.
I know we had a situation in Dunn Park a while back that was, it was pretty problematic, and my wife and I, we watched the park like a hawk. We had neighbors, we had a coalition of neighbors, about 4 or 5 of us that met personally with David Westrick. David was really open to meeting with us. I'm just giving you a suggestion of what we did, but he gave us the time and heard us out. He actually, in this case, gave us a liaison, somebody basically that we could, we talked about different suggestions on how to resolve some of the issues there, and a lot of that stuff's been cleaned up. It's improved a lot, and he actually had somebody as a kind of a appointed basically that we could, if he said, Greg, if you see something out there, then call him anytime, whatever. And I think when that worked really well. And so that would be my suggestion to you, is maybe, if you've got a handful of concerned neighbors that are willing to do that, to, see if we'll call a meeting, just a thought.
Yep. Also, where that park is right there, again, there is lots of health and safety issues right there. I've cleaned up many of drug paraphernalia, glass pipes, glass is, I know that's a city's problem.
Maybe with
City
the improvement,
it would be, I don't mind cleaning it up, but I have to pay for garbage too.
you're going to have homes there now.
Yeah.
You're going to have some improvement here. They probably weren't going to be having that safety area right there like they had. When you get people in an area, sometimes the bad stuff goes away because it can't hide there in plain. It can't hide there anymore. So that might solve itself.
Yeah, more eyes are watching those areas.
Rather than an empty lot with weeds where they can hide, it'll be nice and landscaped and maintained, and new homes. And you can bet those new people living there are not going to tolerate that kind of goings on right there when they just spent hundreds of thousands of dollars for a new house. I think it's going to be better than the empty lot that's there now that doesn't have any people. It could be better.
It's not
That's my opinion. And then my other thought in the whole thing is, you don't want drug users and gang people to dictate your neighborhood.
Exactly.
You do it and then drive them out. We don't want to not put a park because they might come, they're going to get driven out. That's my opinion on that.
Again.
Yeah.
And again, with the park situation, thought of just now that was a concern before. There are lots of, you could look it up on the internet because it's readily available for everyone, where people who are registered sex offenders live. And right on the other side of that one is pinged for a registered sex offender. Even though it's a small park, does it still count as a park? Is that person going to have to move?
That's a good question.
How's that handled?
That's probably a police
is that just
department
something
question.
that is going to happen? And
That's a good point.
I guess that's just a slight concern for
Maybe
me.
bring that up with Chief Westrick, because that's a great question. It really is. That there are laws
There are
But
laws.
you
for
have,
that,
you have what
for
here,
that proximity to a park.
I'm just thinking either maybe not have it there, maybe put it in the middle where it's more protected, more eyes, more. I know this is probably set in stone how you would like it to be, but I'm just thinking of safety concerns because there's a lot of kids that run up and down our street and they'll just walk up into your driveway while you're doing things. And it's like, don't your parents tell you that you shouldn't walk up to strangers? Well, no, they don't really tell us things like that. And that's really the mindset of the people in the community, in the area. Again, how are you going to change that unless you educate them? But how do you, I guess you would have to go to schools and make it actually, an issue. Because to many people in the Hispanic community, it's not really an issue. But again, that's society's concern/problem.
okay.
But we can all work together to improve it.
Of
A
course.
development like this can actually improve that situation.
Yes.
I think
When you
so.
not only take ownership of the house, but you take ownership of the space outside of it with
Yes.
neighborhood watch organizations. And I appreciate your bringing that to our attention and had a discussion on this today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to address the commission on item number 5? No further speakers. I will close the public hearing now at 7:24. So we're looking at the tentative map and also the issue with the fencing of the park, pocket park, I guess you'd call it.
Chairman Hawaii, I have a real quick question for staff. Abraham, on that, on the CEQA mitigated negative declaration on page 101, and this is in regards to the speaker's traffic question. So mitigation measure 16-1 talks about payment of traffic mitigation fee, and that this would go towards the improvement cost to future projects and signalization of the intersection of 156 and Buena Vista Road, and under Caltrans jurisdiction. Is there any kind of an idea when that would occur? I know we have other developments going on along Buena Vista, and
That
so
was
even
discussed.
Yes. Good question. Commissioner Torres, yes, at this time, we, when we do a CEQA document, environmental review, traffic studies, we look at and we see as the development occurs when it's warranted. Caltrans has different standards in regards to how many vehicles have to be on a stoplight or on an intersection waiting to make a turn prior to when they can make a determination and say now it's going to be warranted. And so they just anticipate when the projects are coming in, they anticipate a number of right now I think it's like 3 point something members per housing unit, and so then they calculate the number of vehicles traveled per housing unit, and then they make that determination. At this time, it's still not warranted, but they are now required as developments come in to start contributing to this, as you stated on that page, and then eventually, as the projects come in, we will continue to do traffic studies, and then see, depending on the size of the project that comes in, when it's going to be triggered and make that requirement.
Okay, yeah, because I'm only mentioning that because I did have a meeting with the Supervisor de la Cruz in
Yes.
regards to an application he was preparing for additional signage and striping all of Buena Vista, and I wasn't sure if that was a successful collaboration between the county and the city that could help in this impact fee, or even make those signalization even sooner.
Yeah,
So I'm
that's
not
a
sure if
good
those
point.
talks are continuing or not, so just thought I'd bring that
We
up.
hope so. That's good. Yeah, absolutely.
No, I just had that question.
Caltrans, Caltrans.
No, it wasn't Caltrans, no.
At 156?
No, it's a different, this county was actually applying for another grant through another agency, so.
For the striping of the
Yeah,
road.
for
in
the
Oh, the
Buena Vista.
striping, but as
Yeah.
far as the signalization
But
you were
156,
talking about.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to do it up for the schools too, right?
All right.
That's correct. Yes, we do have a safe path to
Safe
school
school, safe, yeah.
for Calaveras School and
Yeah.
for, which is in the area, and for Oro Harding at this time.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Gabriel. Okay, so we're looking at the tentative map with the fencing in the park. Comments, or someone want to entertain a motion?
Okay, if you'll entertain a motion, I will recommend that I will move that the planning commission adopt PC resolution 2015-19 with the addition of the police department's recommendation for fencing on the south end of the property
Okay, any further discussion?
to approve tentative map number 2015-2 to subdivide the 11.48 acres.
Okay, further discussion? Or you want to, second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item number 5 has been approved. Congratulations. Go on to item number 6, growth management allocations 2015-3, filed by Natmar LP, requesting 11 residential allocations on a property consisting of two 1.17 acres in an R1 LPZ, low-density residential performance overlay zoning district located east of San Benito Street Extension, west of Cienega Road, and north of Promise Way, being more specifically described as APN 020170041.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
The applicant is requesting 11 residential allocations on approximately 2 acres of land designated low-density residential located east of San Benito Street Extension, west of Cienega Road, and north of Promise Way. At the March 17, 2014 City Council meeting, the City Council approved the initiation of pre-zone application 2014-3. At the October 20th, 2014 City Council meeting, the City Council approved ordinance number 1105 approving pre-zone number 2014-3 for this property. Pre-zone 2014-3 has been formally approved by the Local Agency Formation Commission at its March 2015 meeting. The City of Hollister has awarded a total of 159 residential allocations this year so far, including the 25 that were just allocated for the Gonzalez property for the property between Central and Buena Vista Road. So 159 residential allocations this year so far out of a total of 270, as indicated by Joe earlier. It's 244 plus the 26 that were carried over from last year. As of today, there are 111 allocations that can still be awarded until December 31st, 2015. Staff is recommending that 11 allocations get awarded to this project. With this, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt resolution awarding 11 residential allocations to Highland Partners Group, Inc., or to Natmar, for a low-density residential development, and one of the things that the applicant has also mentioned, that they have the desire of the possibility of adding an accessory second unit component to these lots. As you recall, at a joint City Council Planning Commission meeting last month, that was one thing that was discussed, the need for additional housing on properties, and in this particular case, the applicant has expressed desire of the possibility of adding the accessory secondary dwelling units, and the unit that you see before you on the screen, besides the dormant that's shown, is kind of what they're looking at. The accessory secondary units do not necessarily require to go through an allocation process, but if that is the desire of the applicant, and if they do get the 11 allocations, they have expressed desire of coming back, and once pending approval of the tentative map later, would be interested in adding the possibility of accessory second units to their subdivision. But with this, staff recommends Planning Commission to adopt the resolution awarding the 11 allocations to the Natmar applicant. Does the Planning Commission have any questions for staff?
Just to, on the secondary units, of course, there'd be a minimum lot size, but it wouldn't count as an allocation itself. It'd just
That's
be
correct.
part of the primary structure.
That's
Okay.
correct, Chairman Huber.
Allocations are for lots.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, any questions for staff? No
Not
questions?
for me.
Okay. Are we good? Okay, open up the public hearing, 7:30. The applicant care to address the commission? Is the applicant in the audience?
Just to thank you for hearing our application.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Louis, would you have any comments? I'll close the public hearing now at 7:32. Okay, so we're looking at the allocations. I looked at, the applicant went a little bit above and beyond, showing some elevations of the structures. I think that they look nice. There's a nice little character, trying to describe that vernaculars, but we don't need to get into that.
Nope, we can't. Okay.
Yeah, so what's the pleasure of the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve growth management allocation 2015-3, using resolution 2015-20 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The allocations, 11 allocations are approved. Congratulations. Okay. New business,
There's no new business, Chairman Huber,
department reports,
or department reports either. Thank
planning commission reports.
None for me.
I went to a presentation on these little microhomes with the school kids from Helios School from Sunnyvale and the Dual Language Academy from Hollister, and I tell you, I was really impressed. Looked like there's some future architects there.
Cool.
I learned a few points myself. And the mayor built one, as you may have known.
I saw that.
Saw that. We provided some architectural services on the initial concept. He made some changes in there, but it came out nice. It's a little bit larger than our original design, but I mean, he went ahead and built it, and you got to give the mayor some credit, put some passion and his heart into it. So
If I have
it was a good day.
questions, Bill, on that, who do I direct them to? As in the process of approval and the location, I have questions, and I didn't know, do I ask the mayor or do I ask city staff? I was
Well,
what's the role the planning commission plays? That's my other question.
Well, I think it's safe to say right now that outside of staff just knowing a little bit about what he's doing, there hasn't been an application, there hasn't been a designation, there hasn't been a spot. The city
Okay.
has zero to do with his efforts as far as the
Model?
model,
All right.
the one that he constructed. We don't have any financial interest in it. This was all done by
Right.
him. So
I was curious.
if
is
you
all.
want to, he's probably the best person to speak to at
Okay.
this point.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's just at the very beginning step of this, hopefully, and I'm an advocate for that project.
Well, you gotta give him credit. He's doing something, so.
Yeah.
We have a problem, and it doesn't need to be in the river. I better not say too much.
Okay,
Just
well.
gotta get away from the river. Come on, man. You don't want the fishing wildlife on you. I'm telling you.
Okay,
I think he knows that.
okay, well, that was my report.
Okay.
Any other?
Thank you for
planning-
that report.
You're welcome. Any other planning commission reports?
No, but I would just like to thank Mr. Marquez for coming and voicing, his opinion and giving us some, that's what we're here for.
And he had a lot of
I wish
good
more people,
comments.
exactly,
He
He
does.
brought up a lot of good
He
comments.
does
Valid-
have good comments. and-
valid comments we
Yeah.
should be
And-
discussing.
It's not easy to come up and speak.
No.
Exactly.
No,
And they
but-
did a good
Yeah.
job.
No, but
That's good.
a lot of those comments, a lot of architects are proponents of what's called defensible space. And defensible space, when you have these multi-unit developments, are designed with good design, it works to prevent crime because you're able to have good sight lines on these areas. And when you have good sight lines on those areas, you report those crimes. And you develop a confidence of being able to go outside your home and communicate with your neighbors. And that's how neighborhood watch organizations come about.
I think the police department has really been doing a good job with these types of situations. They're paying attention, and they're trying to alleviate or safety issues. They're coming with some good comments, and I was there in the planning for a long time, and some things they were never brought up. So they're paying attention to the plans, and they're doing a good job.
They're looking at it. Yeah, that's great.
The DRC is doing a good job.
They are doing a good job. And it's a good review process when you have the police department being able to look at and getting their input. Okay, anyone else? I have entertained a motion for adjournment.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Our next meeting is June 24th, 2015. Thank you for coming.
And that's going to be a Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Oh, that's a Wednesday because the horse show parade.